I'm Kiera Morgan. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Coffee with Kiera, sponsored by The Human Being. And today I am with Newport Police Chief Jason Malloy. Jason, we've known each other for a really long time.
Really?
I think I was on the interview committee for you when you were interviewing to be chief.
It's been a bit.
So for those who don't know you as well as I do, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do as police chief.
So my name is Jason Malloy. I am the police chief for the Newport Police Department. I actually have been here 30 years. I started on patrol and then a sergeant and then lieutenant. And 2016 was appointed interim chief, and then 2017 was hired as a full-time chief. So been in Newport for quite a while. As police chief, my job's kind of easy because I surround myself with really good people.
That's the thing to do.
I have an incredible staff. The city's really fortunate with the officers and the non-sworn staff that we have, and so. But ultimately, my job is to make sure that our policies are up to date and followed. I maintain the budget to make sure that we're operating within the budget that we are allocated by the council. I'm the one that attends the meetings and, I guess kind of does the cheerleading for the police department and meets with different groups. And so it's kind of a little jack of all trades. And again, when you surround yourself with really good people, your job's pretty easy.
And let's talk about the different departments within the police department. Mm-hmm. You have a very active community service program.
We do. So we have our non-sworn division is our community service officers, and we have two of them. Jovita and Connie do an amazing job. And our non-sworn, they deal with those things that the police officers don't. So they're going to deal with ordinance violations and nuisance violations, the abandoned vehicles. The city's now adopted portions of the International Property Code. So we actually deal with some of the more of the eyesore buildings. We still have a building department through the city that deals with, buildings that are unsafe. We're not qualified to determine that, but we work really well with them. Also on our non-sworn is we have our records department. Mm-hmm. And so we have two full-time and two part-time. And then also our executive assistant is part of the non-sworn. And then we have our patrol division. And so we are getting really close to fully staffed. We're very excited about that. We have a very young department, meaning that the tenure and the age seems to be getting younger every day. We've hired a couple over the years, hired some 21-year-olds, and
what?
I know, that's what I was like, wow. But they're good people, and that's what we want. Is we want good people, and we can help train the how-tos on being a police officer, but it starts with being a good person. And so the things we can't train, we want them coming in with, and then we're going to help with the rest of it. And so we have one person getting ready to go on the road, completing up training. We have one in the academy, and we still have one conditional job offer out, and then we're doing interviews coming up to fill our last spot. So.
And have the rules changed? You always hear, oh, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. Do you have to have a college degree now to become a police officer? Wasn't that something that was a thing for 5 minutes or so?
It depended on the agency. Some agencies it's required. Some of them want a 2-year, some want a 4-year. We don't require a degree, so our requirements are what the state sets it at.
Okay.
So ultimately, you have to be at least 21. You have to be relatively free of criminal convictions, definitely felony convictions. You have to be a U.S. citizen. You have to have a driver's license. The actual requirements that the state sets are, pretty low. And I guess that's probably the nicest way to say it. And so when we have people that meet that minimum qualification, again, as long as we're meeting those minimum qualifications, and we want good people. And if they have a degree, that's great. That's going to help them later in their career advance through different certifications to be able to branch out to do more things. So.
Mm-hmm. And you also have you have 2 canines now?
We have 2 canines. We have Zoe. She's our drug dog. She's we call her a spaz. She's a very, very energetic Malinois. A lot of fun to be around, and boy, is she a spitfire. And then we have Sly as our newest canine. He's the big black German Shepherd. He's with Officer Mangum. Zoe is with Sergeant Bales. Zoe's getting close to the end of her career. We're actually looking at starting to look at replacing her, and also looking at a new handler. So these things don't happen overnight. So it's going to be a little bit, but we are excited just to continue to advance. And so going back to Sly is I think he's about a 3-year-old German Shepherd. He's a patrol dog, so he is trained in tracking people, articles, things, and then also protection.
And what about Zoe? What does she do? Kind of the same?
No,
thing?
Zoe is
She's
just
more...
drugs. She's a drug sniffing dog.
That's right. Okay, I was like, I think she's more specialized, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, so she's trained. I believe it's in heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamines.
And that's certainly come in handy for the department.
Yeah, we have made a lot of cases and a lot of arrests that we would not have been able to do. Just because of their ability and those really fine. They have great sniffers. They are just so much better at that than we are, and it just helps point us in the right direction and be able to do what we need to do.
And let's talk a little bit about what the police department does. You're mostly providing education, but when you have to make an arrest, you have to make an arrest, right?
We do, and it's part of our job. Our job is to enforce the law, and so we enforce state laws, city ordinances, some county ordinances, but mainly state laws and city ordinances. And our job is to respond to calls for service, deliver customer service. The majority of the calls we respond to actually aren't crimes. A lot of them are civil natures or neighborhood disputes. They're things that are actually something
traffic
the CSO should handle. Yeah. And traffic crashes, while they're not all the time a crime, they do require an investigation. And it's traffic crashes are actually pretty complicated. In determining what happened, then there's a lot of investigation that goes into those. But that said, we still respond if anybody looks at our stats. Unfortunately, we still respond to a lot of thefts and burglaries and assaults and person crimes. And anything that happens in the big city happens here, just sometimes at a smaller degree. So we do want to be at a smaller degree than a large city. So, and, we also we don't just enforce, we also educate. And so, we call it the 3 E's of enforcement, or of traffic enforcement, which is education, engineering, and enforcement. And sometimes we identify, roads that are just not conducive or non-safe. And so that's one of our jobs, is to help point that out. It's rare that happens. But I think, over my career and the zillions of traffic stops I've done, I've definitely issued more warnings than I have citations. And I think most officers are like that. But there's a time we do issue citations.
And do your officers also work with the county DA's office with the deflection program? We do.
We are ultimately the first step in that. And so when we meet or we encounter somebody that is eligible for deflection, it is officer discretion. Our rule here is that we want to do deflection whenever it is possible. And so we get that. We're kind of the first step that gets that going.
All right. And let's talk a little bit about, summer is here.
Summer is here.
The population has increased.
Yes.
A lot of us locals know.
A little bit.
And it's not even, taking the back roads even anymore that you can escape it. So let's talk a little bit about how folks can stay safe during the summertime.
It's funny you talk about the back roads. When we train our officers, we train them in the summertime. We used to train them in the summertime. You take this route to avoid 101. You take this route. And we don't do that anymore because there's not a route.
There's not.
So now we're just like, it's going to take a minute and drive safe. Being safe, this is... When the sheriff Landers had his radio show, and once a month we were like a broken record. We always talked about this, and it doesn't matter the time of year. There's just little things that visitors and guests and our community members can do to help keep them safe with their property, which is unfortunately one of the biggest things we get this time of year is their car clouts or car break-ins, people breaking into cars or just sometimes entering an unlocked car. And they do it because they can see something valuable. It's usually not just a blind what's happening in this car. And so, if you are going to keep valuables in a car, we really encourage, lock them in a trunk where they can't be seen. Hide them is a second resort. I've heard of somebody maybe in this room that talks about hiding their things. So it's better than nothing. It's better than sitting on the seat. But if you have a secured area in your trunk, a lot of cars now have locking glove boxes. They have locking center consoles. So, and then at home, it's kind of the same thing. Lock your doors. And
How important is it for folks to have cameras at their homes?
if we had this conversation 10 years ago, I'd be like, they're so expensive, and boy, are they difficult, but boy, they are just cheap. They are very inexpensive now. The quality is amazing. They have helped us solve so many crimes.
I can imagine. I mean,
and
you can't go anywhere without being on video now.
It is, and it really does make our job easier. And it also helps, makes people safer. If people see a camera, and it's not like the old days you could steal the camera. Now the minute you're seen on camera, it's in the cloud, and there's nothing you can do about that. And people they get alerts on their phones, and I really encourage them. There's a lot of good deals out there. I couldn't tell you if one's better than another. I am not that technically sound, but I think cameras are great.
But do your research.
Do your research. What can you get? What's the best bang for your buck? They have ones that don't require a subscription, and it's a small investment for safety. I think it's a good thing.
Well, I know a friend of mine, she was having issues with 2 nights in a row, somebody trying to break into her car. And it was locked, but, I had an alarm or something and woke her up. And she said, I'm getting a camera. And she hasn't had an issue since.
Yeah, well, that's good. It's a good sense of security. Plus, it's one of those things that you can look at where you don't have to go look out your window, or you don't have to open the door to figure out what that noise was. My house was like, what is happening out there? We had a bear.
Oh,
and it took me at least 4 times of him stealing my entire garbage can and spreading it out through the neighborhood to realize I should lock them up. So they're multi-service.
I'm laughing because, his name is Copperfield, because we have a lock-in garbage can, and he can get garbage out of a space this big. He's amazing. So I'm familiar with the garbage thieving bears, but I love them. But it's good to know, because then you've got it on camera,
right?
You know what to do and what's causing the problem. Used to be raccoons, now it's elevated.
True.
So what about traffic safety? As we mentioned, want more cars out on the road. When the valley drivers come here, no offense to the valley drivers, but their driving seems to be a little more aggressive.
Well, when you drive here, Newport's beautiful. Oregon coast is beautiful. There's a lot to see and distract you from driving. You don't even have to be on your phone to be distracted. But our best advice to people is always drive defensively. Just always looking out for those cars around you. Are they in your blind spot? Are you in their blind spot? And plan ahead. It's going to take a little bit longer to get to the north end of town. It's going to take a little bit longer to get to the south end of town. There's really nothing you can do about it. And so just embrace it. Give yourself that safe following distance so you can stop if needed. Don't be distracted by all the things that are to be distracted on the road. We have a lot of colorful people that are very distracting when you're driving down the road and you're like, what is happening? And it's just pay attention. It's pay attention, follow the rules, stop at the stop signs, stop at the red lights, drive the speed limit. Just following those little tips are going to get you there safely. When you don't follow those tips and you get there, it's usually maybe a minute quicker.
But it's going to take even longer if you get into a crash or you get pulled over.
Exactly. Yeah. And while we are empathetic,
then you're really late for work.
And while we are empathetic to why you were speeding or why you ran the red light, you still did it. And did that cause a danger to other people? Type stuff. And so, those are the surefire ways to get a ticket, is when you create a danger.
And let's talk about, you had your first pedestrian enforcement program here about a month ago, I think it was. And it was the first one in quite a while.
Oh, we were trying to figure out the last one, and it was a long time.
Yeah.
They used to be very popular to do. There was a lot of grants available and a lot of programs available. And it's a very structured program. We just don't throw cones out there and, tell our officer to play Frogger and not get hit. It is a very structured program, and this one was very successful. We wrote no citations, just because this was the first one we had done for a long time. It's well advertised, it's well marked. There were a few people that did break the law, and they were stopped and they were educated. They were given flyers, they were counseled about it, and how to not do it next time.
But there was also pedestrians who kind of needed a little bit of education.
There is, yeah.
And this right here by City Hall is one of the, I'm sorry, it is one of the worst sections for pedestrian crossings. You never know when somebody's going to just dart out.
Yeah. Well, and the city did work with ODOT and get the electronic. There's a fancy name for them, but the flashing yellow lights.
Flashing lights.
The flashing lights at the crosswalks along 101 and now out on Highway 20. Those have really reduced a lot of the pedestrian incidents that we've had. So, we also have to remind pedestrians they just can't jump out in front of a car. They have to use their own due diligence and be safe also.
Yeah, making eye contact with the driver, making sure that the driver knows what your plans are.
It's tough with a 4-lane road when that first car is stopped. And, we don't recommend you just keep on going because the second car may not realize why traffic stopped, especially if it's an unmarked crosswalk or not a lighted one. And so we want pedestrians to pay attention, we want drivers to pay attention. It takes both.
And also you have to watch out for that car that's behind the stop car going,
right.
Why you stop for no reason? I'm going around you.
Yeah,
that's why you were stopped.
So many of the crashes we respond to are preventable. They are avoidable. They are usually by some kind of error, on generally the driver, one or both. And so, when you're looking at if you're involved in a preventable crash, you got to look at what could I have done different, and it's usually follow the law. So,
all right. Is there anything else that you want to add or talk about?
No, I think you talked about it quite a bit. I love talking about the department just because I enjoy it. I think we have an incredible department. And the greatest thing, I think, is we have a really good relationship with our community. And so we're able, I think, to get a lot more things done because we have a great relationship with so many different community partners that have been, they weren't built yesterday. They've been over decades, and my predecessors and the previous officers. And so, one of the requirements that when you sit down in my office and I ask you, why should I hire you? One of my requirements is you're going to be part of this community. You don't have to live here. Not many of our officers do live in Newport, but when they are on duty, they're part of the community. And they all step up to it. So it's not even a challenge. A lot of them enjoy it. Even the ones that, we volunteer to go to things. when they show up, they've got a smile on their face and they participate. So I'm fortunate to have such a great staff to do that. And I think we really do work in, I think, the greatest city. So,
of course,
absolutely.
We won't tell Lincoln City and the other areas. You said that.
That's okay. I'm sure they have their opinions too.
All right. Well, Chief Malloy, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We're okay. So this is where we're going to pause. So my daughter's doing my editing. So I know it sounds weird that I'm just literally talking to the camera. Yes.
Scene.
All right. Now we're going to National Night Out. So Chief Malloy, National Night Out, that is something that you got handed from your predecessor.
I did.
And you took it to the next level. So let's talk a little bit about kind of how that whole thing got started.
So National Nights, it's been around since before I was a cop. I believe it started in the 80s. And the purpose of it was to get neighbors and communities together and to also invite law enforcement so that law enforcement was able to get together with the communities and neighborhoods on a friendly note, not responding on a crime or anything like that. Because so many times people's interaction with law enforcement is because they've been a victim of a crime or on a traffic stop.
It can be one of your worst days.
Yes, and unfortunately, we're the ones that get to come. And so by having these community events, it helped get community and law enforcement together in a positive light. And so, neighborhoods and they're encouraged to get outside of their house, lock their doors, and have a community picnic. And then when Chief Miranda got here and he says, "Hey, we really need to start doing this." And so if you're on duty, we'd go to all these different places. I think I gained like 8 pounds every National Night Out because you'd going
to all these barbecues.
You'd have a barbecue at this one, and then you'd hit the next 4 for dessert. And so, it was a fun, and it kind of, we didn't have that many of them, but we did have some organized ones, and the same neighborhoods were doing them. And in 2015, I had the opportunity to go to the National FBI Academy in Quantico. And Quantico is right next to Stafford, Virginia. And Stafford's a pretty big city. And we were there on National Night Out and went to go to like Target or something, to get supplies. And there was this huge event going on, and it was their National Night Out. So instead of having those individual neighborhoods, law enforcement got all their community partners together, had booths everywhere. It was outdoors. They actually had helicopters landing. So, I mean, it was a very big, it was kind of like a fair.
Wow.
Without rides. But I went around and talked to everybody and, was like, why are you here? And I said, there's no reason we can't do this in Newport. And so when I came back, I had talked to Chief Miranda, and he goes, that sounds like a great idea. And it took, it took a couple, and he retired in 2016, and it took a little bit to get going. But I think, I'm not sure when the first one we did was, I think it was 2019, might have been 2018. We did it.
I don't remember. I know I've been following it and doing interviews with Chief Miranda when he got it going.
Yeah. And so we had the first one at the Armory, and we invited as many community partners as we could think of. And the one requirement we had was you had to have free giveaways and information. You couldn't charge anybody for anything. And we supplied hot dogs. We had great partnerships to get hot dogs and buns and all the condiments and drinks. And it was fun. And all of our officers went, and we interacted with people, and they had face painting, and I think we had like 500 or 600 people come to the first one, and we were like,
"That's amazing!"
We're like, "This exceeded our expectations." And then the next one we did, there was 800 people, and there was more vendors. And then I think we had COVID happen. One of them, we even offered COVID vaccines. And it was amazing how many people took part in that. They're eating a snow cone and getting a COVID shot at the same time.
I mean, what better way?
Yep. But we had all of our city departments represented. And so we got to highlight what it is we do. And we got to, give away things and do drawings and have fun stuff. But then we also had all of the partners that we work with. And so, we had, I don't want to list them because I will only list 2 and I'll forget the other 30. But, whether it was, recycling or health benefits or health care or just different services that Newport offers. And we had a great response. And we actually moved it over to the rec center a couple of years ago, last year.
I think it was.
Don't the days the years start running together?
I know. I guess that has what's happened when we get old.
And then it went up to 1,200 people.
Wow.
But we were able to use the rec center and use outside, and then we combined Touch a Truck, and anybody, we don't really have to invite anybody anymore. They want to come to it. And if we do invite somebody, they show up, and it's amazing. I can tell you that this year is going to blow the socks off every other year. So one of the things is, instead of hot dogs, we're doing hamburgers.
Well, good, so because my husband, I got a tattle on him. We were talking about National Night Out with someone, and he said, you want to go to Toledo, though, because they have hamburgers.
Yeah, and I think that word might have got out. We want our Newport residents staying here. So, but it's fun, and this event's going to be bigger. It's going to take up the entire City Hall campus. And so we're going to end up using a lot of the rec center part, like the most of the parking lot. We're using out at the 60 Plus Center. We'll be inside and outside of the rec center. The only bad thing with all of this is it does limit our parking.
I was just going to say, parking. I'm logistically going, okay, I can go to the, nope, you just said not.
we create some disabled parking spots because we, want people with mobility problems to be able to park close. We have drop-off spots, but we have the parking lot next to City Hall. We have the one down at 9th and Herbert. We have a little bit of parking out in front. I think if people are creative, they'll find a place to park. It's going to be nice weather, so good time to get your steps in, burn a couple calories before you come in and have snow cones and candy and hot dogs and hamburgers and everything under the sun. But we have more vendors coming to this one. There's going to be a lot more giveaways, a lot more swag. One of the things that I'm really excited about is, the police department always ventures on safety campaigns. And we've been in the bicycle and skateboard helmet business for quite a while. We'll have those again through great partnerships and funding. We're able to order quite a few of those and make those available for kids. This year, we have a tremendous opportunity. We got a very significant grant. We're actually I think, only agency in Oregon to actually get this grant for water safety. And so,
awesome!
With we were talking, we're like, we have a little bit of water around Newport, and it's not just about life vests, but it's about the education. And so we have a great relationship with our sheriff's office and their marine program and the resources that they have through the State Marine Board, through the different. Kathy Rigby wrote the grant for the city, and boy, she's a 10. She is really good at writing, getting us a lot of different money so we can do these things. And so through programs at the rec center, there's going to be swimming lessons and lots of education, and the goal is to keep the cost down to nothing or very minimal so that everybody can participate. And then we're also going to have life jacket giveaways, and
awesome.
So that's
like
great.
For anybody or just kids.
We're primarily focusing on kids. Those are the sizes that we're getting, and that's what the campaign is generally for. Just like the helmets are generally for the youth and the kids. But I can tell you Pam Holbrook with the hospital and the different foundations that she's able to work with are able to help get us funding for helmets. The first year we did this, I think I heard Pam, and boy, I know she'll correct me if I'm wrong, but the trauma entries for no helmets went to 0.
What?
And so,
that's awesome.
So when we're like, man, just by giving away helmets and making fun events and making sure kids are wearing them and they had no trauma entries related to that, is, we're like, wow, we won on year 1. So now it's like, how can we do it better? So now we're going to safety seats. So we were awarded a grant through the Sledge Charitable Foundation and through a little bit other funding. So we sent 2 of our officers. So this was big back in the 90s when we used to do the child safety seat fittings.
I remember.
Police and fire did them. Fire did a lot of them. And it's just, really hasn't
we
been
used
done
to
a
tell
lot.
people in our news stories, you're not
Yep.
sure how to make sure your child's car seat is, go to the local fire department.
Yep.
I don't know if that's still a thing. I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't go away, but
Yeah. So, our actual certified car seat installers, we don't have any. The fire department doesn't currently have any. I think everybody's kind of retired or moved on, and so we sent 2 officers to car seat school. Is the best way to call it. It's actually a 4-day class, and learn all the proper techniques and everything about it. And so what we're really excited about is we're going to have demonstrations at National Night Out, the proper ways to do the infant seat, the rear facing, the forward facing, things like that. Booster seats. When do you use a booster seat? When do you not? We do know that a lot of kids get moved into a booster seat early or the wrong booster seat. And so we just want to make sure everybody's educated. And then our goal is in September, we're going to have some actual custom fittings, and we're going to be able to supply the car seats. And so that's really good, because if you bought a car seat lately, they're expensive. They are extremely expensive. And so, having a grandkid or 2 now, we have to have our own car seats, and it's exciting to have grandkids, as you know.
It is.
But we got to make sure they're safe. So
I have booster seats of one in the middle of the car,
Oh, yeah.
And then I have a backup one.
Yeah.
I was always really grateful when they went to the booster seats, because it's so much easier when they're transferring.
Yeah, and they can get their own seat. They're small enough.
Yeah, grab it. Let's go.
So we'll definitely do quite a bit of campaign to get the word out, because we want to make sure everybody knows. And we're gonna, use modern technology and QR codes for people to sign up. And we're partnering with the fire department so they can just come through and drive through. So rain or shine, we'll be able to do this. And the biggest thing is the fact that we have the 2 certified installers now to be able to help, and then that we can supply car seats. And so.
Well, what's really great about that too is that anybody who's put in, especially the infant or the younger car seats into your car, you need a college degree to figure out all those straps. And dating myself, used to be you could just take the seatbelt and run it through a hole and click it on the other side, and done was done.
Yeah.
And you could just buckle them into the little seat, and that was it. Now, wow.
Now they have buckleless car seats.
What?
I just learned this. Yeah, you don't use the seatbelt. They clip because cars have advanced so much, and the technology in them that they actually have secure bars. I learned this the other day, and I was like, I'm just dating myself. So
dating yourself. I have a car that has automatic locks and roll down windows.
wow, you have to custom order that today.
I do.
So anyway, back on National Night Out, it's easy to get distracted. We'll start. The safety stuff is just. I think it's one of those things that we're doing knocking out of the park, and it boy does it take a village. It's not one person. We are super fortunate that we have Jovita Ballantyne, one of our CSOs, who in her spare time when not doing CSO duties is making sure we have all those relationships, and she's just done such a good job of developing them and keeping them going and expanding them and introducing more of us to it, that we can't do this by ourselves. And so as much
City
as
Employee of the Year. Yep. She's amazing.
As much as I'd love to be able to use, our public funding to be able to do this, we just can't. We don't have enough. So we got to be able to keep the doors open and go through these partnerships, these foundations, these groups. We're able to do these things. And my goal for all of this is that there's no cost. It's how do you put a cost
supplies.
on? Oh,
that's one of the biggest draws. I mean, people line up and they're like, okay, where's the table?
So, if you've met Sergeant Luke Obeda, with the National Guard and his wife, I don't want to ask where they get it because it's just, then I may be a witness, but boy, did they come up with, I don't know, what is that table, 30 feet long, 40 feet long, stacked as tall as me with school supplies. And yeah, it's great.
And it's gone in like 5 minutes.
You want to get there early?
Yes.
Yeah, you want to get there early. Yeah, we've always talked about, should we have a police officer limit how much, because it's whatever you can carry. Some people are pretty strong. So we supply bags. We've got actually new custom bags this year. So has the New City logo on it. And everybody's going to get, a bag and lots of free stuff. And it's going to be fun.
And get well fed.
Well fed. Yeah, this is an event. Mark your calendars. You don't want to miss this one. August 5th, 5 o'clock tip off. We're not opening the doors before then. It's kind of like a garage sale. It starts at 5. And then it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. It goes 5 to 8. For our staff, it's the longest 3 hours of the year because we're just moving and shaking and trying to meet and visit with everybody and get it all done. And
there's fun. National Nights Out same night, which is my media nightmare trying to be all over the place. But Lincoln City Sheriff's Office is having one in Depot Bay at the City Park. Newport here at City Hall, Rec Center, 60 Plus Center. South County in Waldport. Not sure where that's going to be. I'm thinking the fire department or somewhere, City Hall or community center, something down there. Small town, you'll find it.
Toledo also has one.
Toledo has one. I believe that's going to be at Memorial Field again. And Siletz with the Sheriff's Office is having one, kind of, I think, in a partnership with the Siletz Valley Rural Fire Department. They're always on board with doing community events and community things. Did I miss any?
I think you got them all. Each community in Lincoln County has a National Night Out, and it's great. And it is tough because you want everybody to come to ours. And I fully support everybody going to their community and being part of it. And I know the sheriff is tries to get to as many as he can, and I know that you're going to try to hit them all. And it's a short amount of time.
It is,
cover a lot of distance.
Driving all over the place. So I'm going to be at 2 this year. I'll be in Depot Bay. I'm on the board for Neighbors for Kids, and so we'll have a little booth there. And so I'll be there and then running down here.
We'll be here.
And so we'll be down here also and hopefully have a booth and stuff also, or a roaming booth.
Right. Randomly interviewing people?
Yeah, interviews and pictures and, doing some videos. I'll track you down and we'll do hey, we're here live.
I'll be around.
I've done that to more than one occasion.
So yeah, National Night Out's a good time. I really like I like how it all started. It's a great thing, but how we've been able to develop it even more and make it better and involve more of our community and to be able to interact with. And now it's not just police officers. We have all of our city staff are going to be represented in all the departments and our city council and our elected officials. So, and people can come and ask a million questions and,
Start writing them all down now.
yeah, start writing, what have you always wanted to know? And we'll try to find the answer.
Awesome. All right. Well, Chief Malloy, thank you so much for sharing with us about National Night Out.
Yeah.
Thank you for growing it into an amazing event and including the safety aspect of it as well, and keeping our kids and families safe. I think that's really important, and appreciate that very much.
Yeah. Well, again, we're fortunate to have the community partners we have, and it's easy to come up with an idea, and then again you surround yourself with a bunch of really good people, and they make it come true. So,
all right, wonderful.
We'll see you August 5th.
Thank you.
You bet.
And thanks for joining me on this episode of Coffee with Kiera. We're sponsored by The Human Being in Newport at 6th Street and Highway 101, and also in Lincoln City at the north end of the highway on the west side next to TLC Credit Union. Thanks for joining me. I'm Kiera Morgan.